Hello, nice to see you. Thanks for coming out to the Twilight Zone. Now, I can see you looking and thinking, where's all the stuff? Don't tell me I've come all this way to market for now. Admit it, I can see it in your eyes. Well, truth to tell is, I've done so well today, I don't have any stuff for you to take away, except some secret stories. Priceless ones about Shipley, as it was known in the Doomsday Book. You might be wondering what a Scots doing telling stories about Shipley. Well, my antecedents have been here for over 100 years. And don't forget, Bradford City would not have won that 1911 Cup if it wasn't for us. A team of 1 Irishman, 2 from Nottingham, and 8 Scots. As well as the fact that engineering and science are deep in our DNA and linked to the stories to be shared. Shipley, skip, Old Northumbrian meaning sheep, Leia, Saxon, clearing. Though the Cup and Ring Stone in Crowgill Park up the road show folks might have been here in Neolithic and Bronze Age times. And I can see from your expressions that many of you have never heard of that stone. So you see, there's a secret shared already. Now the stories I mentioned link with that stone, because no one's sure how those cup and rings were made, what they were for, or what they communicate. We're a bit hazy on the technology there. And you know the definition of technology, eh? The application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry. And them cup and rings, well, they're examples of that, even if we don't know what the industry was. But they show that folks in Shipley were using technology to communicate way back when. And the secret stories you'll hear show how they're still doing that here, though in a more sophisticated kind of way. Right through the 1920s and 30s through to the 1960s. You'll hear how Shipley was at the heart of the developing radio, television and film industry. You all know how innovative Bradford was in the mill and factory technology to make it the successful place it was. Worsted up a list. But did you know that when Churchill visited the Alhambra's opening in 1914 and saw the moving pictures of those men drilling in the parks, he said, "Bradford is at the forefront of the technical revolution." Aye, well, I thought not. Though some of you might know of Edward Appleton, Sir Edward Appleton, buried at Undercliff Cemetery, and his early research into radio waves. He got the 1947 Nobel Peace Prize for Physics. And of course you'll know of John Logie Baird, inventor of television and of Baird's factory in Shipley. I suspect, however, that few of you know of Sidney R. Wright, Bingley-born Shipley resident, manager of the radio department of Christopher Pratt's, that upmarket furniture emporium, when it was an Ivegate. That was before my time. I remember it on North Parade. Well, Pratt's was one of the first sellers of wireless sets, which Sidney was very au fait with. In fact, his living room was integral to the development of television broadcasts, it being the place that the first official BBC transmission was received outside London. And born in Shipley a year before this transmission was Tony Richardson, one of the originators of the British New Wave cinema that had such an influence internationally. Now, I tell you what, if you get on that bus out of the cold, you'll hear more details of these secret stories, and stay warm while you do. Those upstairs will hear them first, and then downstairs can have a gossip. So come on, all aboard while I have a quick word with the driver. We all sitting comfortably then? Right, I'll begin. Now, Sidney Wright not only retailed radio sets at Pratt's, but he were a dab hand at fiddling with wireless and radio in many ways. Son of wealthy parents, he went to Giggleswick School before enlisting with Air Force in 1916. And that's where he probably learnt about radio telegraphy. Moved to Bankfield Drive in 1922 with his wife Dorothy and became operator of an amateur transmission station. But BBC itself had set up transmitters in Leeds and Central Bradford in 1924 for radio broadcasts. And being a transmitting enthusiast, Sidney went hunting with battery-powered set on Baildon Moor to find signals from other amateurs in 1928. It made headlines in local press like "Hide and Seek by Radio." Now, one of Sidney's aficionados was an Harry Barton Chappell, lectured in technical engineering at Bradford Tech College. Anyone remember that? Aye, you do, aye. Well, that had its own transmitter, and the two chaps, they knew each other quite well. In 1928, Harry went to work for Baird's. Yes, I know, well, I'm getting to that then, I'm coming soon. A technical advisor he was, and publicist, writing books and articles on this early TV. So he went out in, if you like, with company that produced programmes for BBC. Now, the first television transmission had been in 1926, but there'd been a falling out between Baird, BBC, and so it wasn't until 1929 that they and the government agreed to transmit again. So now listen up, because this is the Shipley starring spotlight moment. So, Barton Chappell heads up to Shipley with a Baird College and a Model A portable televisor. Hey, it's so sci-fi this, isn't it, eh? And he sets it up on 8th of October in Sidney Wright's living room at Backfield Drive. As Sidney, being au fait with all this, he'd got his own speakers and radio receiver set. And at this time, you see, sound and vision couldn't be transmitted together. That wasn't until 1930. And at this event, you see, there were only 2 minutes of sound and then 2 minutes of vision, all on a 2x2-inch TV, and being reported on by TNA journalist in the room. You're not forgetting, of course, that Sidney's wife were in there and all. So imagine yourself in that room with tension mounting. It's 11 a.m. and transmission begins from London. Loudspeaker goes off. Television with small orange dots appearing and flashing until there's an orange square. Here a bit of fiddling and dots become shape of a man's head, and then more fiddling, and then there's the face moving from left to right. I mean, can you imagine how those folk felt seeing that for the first time, eh? Their expressions as his mouth gaped open, his eyebrows dancing, as he scowled and as he laughed. And how could this be coming from 200 miles away? How they must have stood to attention when that face disappeared to be replaced by Prince of Wales. I mean, first official broadcast, transmission to Shipley, outside of London, there in living room in Shipley. Only now coming to light through John Logie Baird's grandson Ian and his research. We should be making more of this in Shipley. Especially in a city that housed a business that renamed its manufacturing arm Baird Television when it acquired company at name. Because of course, you'll all remember radio rentals, wouldn't you? Which did just that, till it turned to tele-rentals after World War II, and then colour in 1960s. It employed 2,500 folk, had annual dances at the Locarno Mecca on Manningham Lane, as well as cycling club. And hey, before I forget, bet not many of you have heard of Ethel Snowden either, have you? Not Shipley, but Keithley. Thought not, but you should have, 'cause she was first female board of governors in 1926, first woman on there. Before broadcast happened, socialist, suffrage supporter, outspoken on many issues. She challenged and clashed with Audrey from the very first moment they met, so it's no surprise that she wasn't reappointed in 1936. But hey, here's another story you might not be familiar with, that of a Shipley lad who were at heart at British New Wave cinema. Not to mention being co-founder, as you like, of an acting dynasty. Maybe you've clocked that plaque on Bingley Road, or one at Bradford Playhouse, and wondered who they were for. Well, I can tell you, they were for Tony Richardson. Not to be confused, of course, with him of Baldrick fame, who lived at number 28, Bingley Road, And it's easy for me to remember that, isn't it? Because he was born in 1928. And he lived there till 1948. He went to Oxford and were president of both University Drama Society and Experimental Theatre Club. Of course, got his first taste of stage with Shipley Young Theatre, didn't he? Which met at Bradford Civic Theatre, Bradford Playhouse as it is today. After World War II he were there. Started as a writer, and with J.B. Priestley being president at theatre, it were inevitable they'd meet. But it wasn't inevitable that J.B. had commissioned him to write a TV documentary. You see, J.B. were also a scriptwriter himself, so he could see Tony's potential. Now, in 1950s, Tony co-founded English Stage Company, which staged the John Osborne plays Look Back in Anger in 1954 and Entertainer in 1957. And they had a gritty realism that not been seen at theatre at the time and became linked to this angry young men group of that time. Well, he took this grittiness into directing films at plays, shaping the new wave cinema and making films in a different way. Because he wasn't afraid, you see, of tackling challenging stories and subjects, our Tony, or handling flack that came with doing it. Like when he did Sheila Delaney's Taste of Honey, written when she was only 17, about teenage pregnancy, dysfunctional families, poverty, alcoholism, eh? Hey, does that remind you of another female writer at Bradford, our Andrea? Any road. Tony made film in working class streets, using cameras on tracks that became influential in other films like Room at Top by Bingley lad John Brain, who Tony might have met him at Bradford Playhouse, 'cause John were a regular there. Now, Taste of Honey came out in 1961, and in 1964, Tony won Oscars for Best Director and Film for Tom Jones. So you see, there you are. Stories of Shipley, curiosity, creativity, experimentation, of seeing things differently, a technical and scientific application. Stories of Shipley that influenced and changed cultural and artistic development both nationally and internationally. You see, by heck, you know, we've got more in common with them Neanderthal ancestors than we thought. So any road, here we are, last stop folks, bus terminates here. Now remember, do take all your things with you, otherwise they'll be up market stall on Saturday, because I've got to supplement being a clippy somehow, haven't I? Any road, nice to see you. Off you go now, ta-da!